Jonathan Braylock.
That's
How
right.
are you, Jonathan?
I'm doing. I think I'm doing a little better than you right now because you are.
I'm very tired.
You are very tired.
But I'm hanging in there.
Yeah,
I see the end in sight.
Yeah,
We're close to the end. Now, Jonathan, you are, like me,
Yeah,
a member of the Forever Dog family.
that's right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And you're one of the co-hosts of Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood.
That's right.
Which is a great podcast.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a fun show. We've been doing it for 7 years now. It's
7 years.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How many episodes?
It's about 360 something around there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We've done a Double Threat
Yeah.
for like 2 years.
Right.
Best show, 20.
20. There you go. That's goals right there.
Yeah, look, that it's goals or it's a cautionary tale. Either it's a how not to or a how to. I don't know yet. After 20 years, I still don't know if it's a how to or a how not to.
Right.
I never would have signed up for this. So I was just like, hey, you want to do this for 20 years? Like, absolutely not.
Yeah. Are you crazy?
But you get 1 week at a time, weeks, months, years, decades.
Right.
You turn around, what happened to half of my life? And it's great. I love it so much. Now, for people who don't know, Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood, it's a show. You and the three hosts.
Gerard Milligan and James III as well.
And you watch movies.
We do.
With an eye toward.
So there are movies that star Black actors, and we talk about them in the context of race and diversity in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we did this. It literally came to be because of a Facebook argument. Do you remember Facebook? There was a time in which
You mean Meta?
Yeah, Meta. Meta World Peace, Ron Artest's company.
What if he owned?
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
That would be
he owns 51% of it. Mark Zuckerberg is
49%. We were arguing about James III was making the argument that Martin Lawrence should have been more famous than he was.
Okay.
And I was like, Martin Lawrence is one of the most famous actors, Black actors and comedians that there ever lived. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like Black or otherwise.
Otherwise.
He's like last 30 years, he's one of the primary faces of comedy.
Right. He was like, but he should have started more films after his incredible turn in Blue Streak. And I was like, out of all the movies, I don't know why you picked Blue Streak. Yeah. But that got us to talking about, well, there actually aren't that many Black actors that like lead a lot of movies. There was like, Will Smith and Denzel Washington. You have, Jamie Foxx and Martin Lawrence. But we were like, oh, there's not that many. So we decided to do this podcast just as kind of a fun goof. But then Oscars So White happened, and then there was like Oscars So White Part 2. Yeah. And we were like, all right, this is the thing. And people started listening, and here we got locked in.
It's really I would say, fortunately and unfortunately, there will be no shortage of episodes of the show. Yes, you will never be like, we did all the movies and all the actors. There's no more to do to analyze what's wrong here.
Yeah.
The Green Book episode is like a plant your flag kind of one.
It's the episode that guaranteed not one of us would ever win an Academy Award. Nor
the Academy will forever. They have like the equivalent of the list at a like a convenience store behind the counter, like do not, like with the security photos of the people. Do not let in. It's because look, that movie is. The idea that was it 2019, 18 or 19, like way too. It has 2000 anything on it, and then we're talking about it.
Oh, truly wild! Like such a throwback. And the thing is, I think everybody at the time, everybody on that film, definitely was like, "We did it." You know what I mean?
Like, look, they won Best Picture.
They won Best Picture. Yeah.
And
people were like, yes, we're doing it. We're solving racism.
It's so funny because you could make a case it's the worst picture of that year. Like if there was a thing like, what's the worst movie of 2018?
Right.
It's like whatever year Green Book came out, that's the worst picture of the year. And it's like, it's so strange. Well, first of all, Driving Miss Daisy,
right.
it's like a reboot of Driving.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's wild.
It's such a
strange, and it's so interesting because it's like like you read more about it, you realize like the family of I'm forgetting the character that Mahershala Ali plays, but like his family didn't like it.
No, they didn't want the movie to get made.
They didn't want the movie to get made.
Yeah.
But the son of the driver, Viggo Mortensen's character, did. And he was the one who wrote it, or at least or was involved, I think, heavily involved with the making of it. And yeah, it was like, why are we following this man though? Like, isn't the more interesting guy this guy who was?
You mean the genius musician who was like wealthy?
Yeah, who was wealthy enough to like hire a white driver to take him around,
but also had like you weren't sure what the deal with his sexuality was at the movie, and rather than just
hey,
that Viggo Mortensen, you're just like that's, I don't even know if that's a one-dimensional performance. I think we're giving it credit by giving it one dimension.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is.
It was wild. It was I mean, you know, good for our show to have movies like that. Because there was a time where it felt like we were like, I mean, I think we're gonna get past this. They're gonna recognize what's going on, and people are going to be like, yeah, what are we doing? Let's just have more diversity in film. Let's not like have these stereotypical films be made. But I think, you know, what I realized was like people, I feel like maybe, I don't know if this is too serious for the show.
No, there's no.
I feel like people, we learned racism wrong. You know, I think I feel like when I was growing up, I feel like when a lot of millennials were growing up, even, we were kind of taught that racism was just like, you don't hate someone because they're different than you, you know?
Okay.
You don't hate someone because of the color of their skin, which is a great sentiment. But it's not actually, it doesn't involve all of what racism is, you know? Because systemic racism kind of has nothing to do with how you necessarily feel about an individual. It's about these systems that were put into place and then just keep going because they're there.
Yeah, they just get perpetuated. Nobody even thinks to trace their actions and thoughts to anything larger than just any given moment.
Right.
They don't think they're a part of a larger or a long running situation.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, it's not a case by case basis. These things have very deep and long running roots.
Yeah, exactly.
And
the effects of them are, even if like some laws were taken out or reversed, or, you know, you have like Civil Rights Act, all that stuff was put into place. It's like the effects were already there. And so that's going to be perpetuated, you know, unless you intentionally do something about it, because it was intentionally put in. So you have to, like, I remember having a conversation with somebody who was like, well, why? I don't understand why can't it'll naturally work itself out. And it was like, well, it wasn't naturally worked in, you know?
Yeah, it's a very unnatural, these things were wildly unnatural. Somebody perverting the natural flow of life to say, no, I'm going to say, maybe we're not all equal, for example. Like that's a perversion of normalcy. Yeah. It's so interesting. The show is so interesting. I always think of this thing that Chris Rock said when he was talking about, was it Top 5 was his movie?
Yeah.
When he said,
really fun film. Yeah.
Look, DMX in that movie, that's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. It was one of the most shocking things. I didn't know he was in it.
Yeah.
And he was so funny in it.
Didn't he pass away?
DMX? Yeah, he did.
He did,
like
right?
a year or so ago.
Man.
Yeah. And Cedric the Entertainer was great in it too.
Yes.
But when Chris Rock was talking about that movie, he made a point that has always stuck with me, where he's like, every movie, everything I do, every project I do ultimately can't exist without it being about my identity as a black man.
Right.
But he's like, conversely, Seth Rogen every movie he does not have to go back to him being Jewish or Canadian or anything. He can just be Seth Rogen or a
guy.
Dude.
He's a guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
And that has always stuck with me. And it runs. It's just this truth,
right?
This undeniable truth.
Yeah.
When you actually pay attention and look at it, it's just like, yeah. It's really and I don't know. That's why I just
coming up. I mean, I was like, I remember doing a lot of comedy, and a lot of comedy was centered around my identity. I'm also like half white, half black. My mom's Italian and Irish. Comes from a very Catholic family. She's one of 13 children.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
That kind of Catholic. Yeah. But I grew up in like kind of a white suburban town, so I was like, and I had it was like I wasn't fully aware of the identity crisis, except for every now and then people would make comments of like, well, you're not really that black because like you don't like this rap music, or you're not really that black, you don't talk in a certain way.
Well, it's great that people could make those determinations for you. That's great. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right. Yeah. Understood. Yeah.
It's very kind of them to
so it's like you exist, and then I realized like, whoa, I was carving out a space for myself when it was like, hey, talk about what you know. I was like, well, I don't know. There's this weird thing that kept happening to me when I was young, and I feel like I need to work that out. And then I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to just be, just be silly, just be fun, be that kind of guy. But I realized that when people were looking at me, they were like, yeah, but that dude who I don't have to put any, identity crisis on, that dude was the silly dude. I want to hear about the unique POV that's coming from you. And I was like, oh, so it's tough. It's like you feel like you get trapped in that sense. But that said, I feel like, even on the show, like we talk about, we say we're not a political podcast. We joke about that all the time. But we do also just talk about movies, and we're movie enthusiasts. We just have fun,
It's a fun, exactly. Yeah. It's a show. You cover a lot of ground on the show, and it's not just for people who haven't checked it out and would think this just feels like school. Right. It's like, no, it's a really funny, entertaining movie podcast.
Yes, exactly.
That just has a particular perspective.
Right.
And I think it's a great show.
Oh, thank you.
And it's so interesting because I feel like when history, to some of the things you're saying, we think of something like the Eric Andre show.
Yeah,
I feel like 20 years from now, people are going to look at that and say, like, this is a show obviously made by people of color,
right?
But it wasn't about people of color, but it was about it,
right?
By the nature of who created it,
exactly,
and wrote it and performed it,
right?
Which to me is like, to go to back to that Chris Rock point. Yeah, it's one of the first things in that has escaped the thing that has to be about. It's just funny. It's allowed to be funny and silly for the sake of a thing. Yeah. But obviously, you see who's making it, and so it's just like that. To me, is such. I feel like those are the things that this because this industry is. It's the most back padding. It's so proud of itself.
So proud of itself. Yeah.
But meanwhile, there's generally more diversity at a Home Depot in terms of like Hollywood's so proud of itself for its diversity. It's like
for making Green Book the best picture winner.
But then you go to like Home Depot and it's just like, everybody's working here.
Right.
Everybody's here. It's like it's a rainbow here at Home Depot.
Yeah.
But Hollywood's like, we're doing a pretty good job of this. It's like like they think that they're the first car on the train. It's just like you're kind of pulling up the rear.
Yeah, exactly. It's so fun. And the other thing, one of the things that we talked about on our show is there was this idea that like, well, if you put a black lead in a movie, it's not going to sell to white audiences. So that was a huge thing for a while. So there's like, a lot of films where there's like mostly black cast. It's targeted towards like black audiences. And there are some of these films that we watched and we were like, there's no reason that this needs to be a quote unquote black movie.
No, absolutely not. No,
and there are great movies with mostly white cast that like I love and a lot of other people love who aren't white. You know what I mean?
It's such a weird, it's so weird and so backwards. And it's just, well.
But yeah, there are so many people doing great things. I mean, like even that Eric Andre, he had that movie with Rel, Bad Trip.
Yeah,
that was so funny.
It's so funny,
and it was so great to see. Because I made a joke once about like, man, it's harder for black people to do prank shows because you're like a little more scared.
Like, sure,
you know what I mean? You're like, are these people actually gonna like, what's gonna happen? But like, they did such an incredible movie that also had a heart to it.
Absolutely,
well.
One of the big bummers of the last couple of years was that didn't get a proper theatrical release.
Yes, that's right.
To hear a packed theater just losing their marbles to that movie,
yes.
And it was just was it Netflix?
Netflix, yeah.
That's a minor tragedy that didn't get to play in front of audiences.
Yeah, seriously.
So yeah. So the show was it every Monday?
Every Monday, that's right.
And what's the next episode?
We got Nope coming out. So the third Jordan Peele movie. If you haven't seen that movie, check it out. Very very exciting. Yeah, he's been. I mean, he's the next, he's kind of this auteur that's like making these horror films that are awesome. It really, I talk about this a little bit on the podcast. It reminds me of M. Night, and I mean that in the good way, but also in the I'm scared way of hope it can keep it going. Sure. It feels like the more you keep doing it, then there's more pressure on you to like every film needs to be a hit.
Everybody's just like, I hope this one's not The Village.
Yeah, exactly.
Or this one's not The Happening.
Yeah.
Yikes. When you start going, when those things went off the rails,
right.
It's like,
they really did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah. And the batting average goes lower and lower. And you're just like, I think he had two.
Then people go, did he ever make a good movie?
Were the ones that I liked good?
Yeah.
Like you start to get to that
questioning
place.
Everything.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you swinging by. This is so much fun. I'm a fan of the podcast, and and everybody should check it out.
Yeah, please check it out. It's fun.
Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood. It's also, and again, Forever Dog.
Forever Dog.
Forever Dog gets it.
On here forever. They get it.
Yeah. Now, do we have? Is the theater ready? We're gonna throw to the theater.
Yeah, I believe we can go to the theater. If you just give me like 1 minute, make sure they're good to go over there.
Brett, you're such a
great guy,
high character.
Oh, come on! Thank you so much. I loved that conversation, guys. That was just. I'm just sitting back here.
I know why you loved it.
Right.
It's just a commercial for Forever Dog.
Right. Come on now.
Straight up commercial.
There was a genuineness to everything until you came in with that.
I was just like, these guys are so smart. They're just so talented.
It's like Emperor Palpatine's like, yes.
Synergy.
Keep promoting say Forever Dog again.
I was like, I could listen to these guys once a week. Sure. Sort of indefinitely.
Yeah. Well, we both do shows on the network, and you can hear us once a week. No, this has been a fun thing. I'm coming up. I have an hour and a half to go. It's strangely sad. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, only an hour and a half to go.
Yeah.
When this morning I was like, I think I'm gonna die. I was laying in this side room. I had like a 40-minute window, and I just laid on this air mattress, and I was just like, my body had like that weird shaky when you don't sleep, and you're just kind of like, I'm shaking.
What's going on?
What is this? I think I'm falling apart.
All right, Don, the theater's ready to go. You want to send it over there?
We're going to go to the theater, and in the theater, we have performing live Ty Segall, Michael Cronin, and Jess Cornelius. I'm going to go to the theater and check it out now. And thank you, Jonathan.
Thank
for coming.
you.
It was so much fun.